Getting beat up by 9 guys at Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame.
Welcome to the Heel to the Face podcast.
And this right here,
with your hosts, Jared Wicks, Brandon Icebreaker Clements, and Paul Boy Green-Esden.
It doesn't matter what your name is. And that's the bottom line. The Stone Cold
I have received an email.
Don't forget to email the show at heeltotheface@hotmail.com.
Best there is, the best there was, or the best there ever will be.
Brett screwed Brett because it's what's best for business.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. The champ is here. Oh, yeah. New Day Rock. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya.
Tweet us using the handle @HeelToTheFace.
Woo! Let's get ready to suck it!
The bell is rung, so let's step in the ring with your hosts, Paul, Brandon, and Jared.
I might as well tag me up with my buddy from Syracuse.
From the Galaxy Communications Studios in downtown Syracuse, New York, this is the Heel to the Face podcast for the second week of May 2017. I am joined today, as always, with the Icebreaker 21 on Twitter. He is Brandon Clements, and today just myself, Jared Wicks. Paul Boy Green-Esden is not with us this week. He'll be with us in the future, though. But the show must go on. And WWE proved that this week, that the show must go on, because it wasn't an exciting week in professional wrestling.
No, it was not.
It was not an exciting week, but despite the fact that Paul's not here, I'm sick, and that there's really not much going on in the WWE, the show must go on. And we're going to start things off with Monday Night Raw, our main event topic. And Monday Night Raw, I want to say the main event wasn't too bad. Now, my question is, knowing when Raw and SmackDown are in England and they're not live, does that take anything away from you at all? Like, you knowing?
Not really. I mean, I'm not one of those folks where I'm gonna go make sure I go online and find the spoilers. I wasn't even paying attention. If I wouldn't have known, I wouldn't. If I didn't even know it in the first place, I probably wouldn't have cared anyways. I obviously, knowing the time difference, we kind of already figured that. But I felt like they did a halfway decent job. Where, I mean, I didn't really notice it as live or on, pre-recorded, I should say.
Yeah, I think this year they did a better job than they have in years past, where it was noticeable, where people put out a lot of spoilers. Not a lot of people put out any spoilers. There wasn't really anything going on this week, and people really ruining it, I think. And the WWE really, this might have been their best presentation to England, for the fact that you had Finn Balor, who's a big UK star. I know, obviously, he's come back in house shows and stuff, but this was Finn Balor's kind of debut on Monday Night Raw in front of the UK crowd. So this was, and obviously, and don't forget, Jack Gallagher, he was, also involved in Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
And obviously 205 Live was taped there. So this might have been one of the better times that Monday Night Raw and the WWE has gone to England when it comes to lack of spoilers coming out and just an overall good show. But whether they're in England or whether they're in the United States, I think just Raw, as Corey Graves put it on the podcast for WWE last week that he's a part of, is that Raw is just a bunch of segments, and they have too much time for matches, but they don't actually give the time to the matches. They just do a lot of segments.
Yeah.
And that's what, this was just full of segments. We did see Sheamus and Cesaro becoming number one contenders yet again for the tag team championship. These number one contender matches for the tag team championships, when these people were just the number one contenders, that, I just felt like they could have shaken things up there a little more.
What were we expecting? Were we expecting like Heath Slater and Rhino to win or something? Or
why are we having a number one contender match for the tag team championships if we're gonna give it to who was just the number one contender?
You know what would have been great if the Golden Truth would have won. Because they were sort of kind of hyping it up a little bit, and then they came in last, and then had a couple near falls. I was, for a minute, I'm like, are they really? I mean, there's been a lot of weird things going on around the business lately, and I'm like, is this the next thing that's going to happen? Because let's be honest, I mean, we'll get to SmackDown later, but Breezango they are super talented, but I don't see them, winning the titles in their next couple months, but. I was kind of thinking for a minute. I was like, is Truth and Goldust gonna Are they going to be the number one contenders for the titles? I thought for a second they were, but you know what? It fell the way it did with Sheamus and Cesaro. I'm okay with it. I mean, I know how many tag team turmoil matches can you have in the last few months? You know what I mean? It's kind of like you said, you're not really mixing things up. I don't know. I don't see Sheamus and Cesaro, winning this. I think the Hardys are going to prevail for a little while. What do you think?
I knew they could prevail for a little while, but now a little while in WWE terms is coming to a close. We're moving on to the end of May, and by the time this match takes place, it'll be in the beginning of June. So with that being said...
You think that's short of a run?
Well, 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, I could see the Hardys getting more towards a 6 months mark, honestly. I think they get there. That's where I stand on that. I mean...
I don't feel them going for the 6 month mark. I feel them going for... Because I got that they brought them in, they became tag team champions right away, but I don't think you want them to just then hold on to the belts. You wanted them have legitimate feuds for the belt. That's why I think them facing the same people over again. The only reason I could see them facing Sheamus and Cesaro again is if you have Sheamus and Cesaro win this time and then kind of create that back and forth. If you're going to have the Hardys now win again, and in WWE terms, this is way too long. Back in maybe the 90s, people had 6 month, 1 year long title reigns. But nowadays, if you have a 2 or 3 month long title reign, that's kind of, and especially in the tag team realms, maybe not in the world title realms, but in the tag team realm, that's too long, especially when you're facing the same. And the Hardy Boys are not going to go after the New Day's record here.
You can spice things up, though, where you can have different matches, though. You know what I mean? Not have the Hardys defend the titles all the time. You know what I mean? You just kind of have singles matches, too, where they're still having these feuds with the other tag teams. Like, they were doing it the right way, where one of the Hardys was facing Cesaro, one of the Hardys was facing Sheamus, and you mix things up a little bit. I think that's the way you kind of keep the spice going. I'm not saying anything longer than 6 months. I think I wouldn't be surprised if 6 months is where we see the reign come. Maybe SummerSlam might be. That's what, 4 months. That's 4 months.
I see them involved
total?
in a tag team title match at SummerSlam. I don't even say that they're not going to be the champions. I just don't feel it with that. Well, and I kind of am backtracking on my own statement here because of the fact that with the brand extension, you only have so many pay-per-views. So to be honest with you, I want to say that Raw only has 2 more pay-per-views till SummerSlam.
Yeah, without looking at the schedule, yeah.
Yeah, they mean that they'll have Extreme Rules the beginning of June and then Great Balls of Fire in July, and then there'll be SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So it could very well be possible. It's just the length of time just seems hard with as much programming that WWE's throwing out, Monday Night Raw being 3 hours long and the Hardy Boys being the tag champions of Monday Night Raw, and then being so many Monday Night Raws between now and SummerSlam. And just the lack of tag teams, I feel. And you say in that turmoil match, who was going to win? It wasn't going to be them. Who was it going to be? That shows the lack of depth in the tag team championship.
They could have gone the club, but we've seen that.
And we've seen that.
Yeah, it's tough the way this brand shakeup is, where you have you got the 2 different shows. I understand it, but there's ways to get creative to make the matches. Make different matches out. Get creative with it. Make it. Yes. TLC or whatever, ladders matches, stuff like that. That stuff makes it interesting, I think. But to your point, I could see them maybe losing it SummerSlam. That's right.
If they have it till SummerSlam, they better have a very good contender to fight them at SummerSlam. Because if they're going up against Sheamus and Cesaro at SummerSlam or the club at SummerSlam for like the second or third time, and there's really nothing great behind it, then the Hardy Boys have officially lost their luster. They came in, it was great. WrestleMania had that excitement, but so far since WrestleMania, you just realize that when you become in the WWE, you're not greater than the WWE, and they're kind of just showing that they could easily just blend right back in. When at WrestleMania they stood out, they kind of looked different because of the fact that we haven't seen them for so long. We saw them in all these other organizations. And now that they came back in, it kind of looks like they're just where they kind of left off. They're just, they're another tag team in there. So you gotta create something bigger for them. If they're still the champions at SummerSlam, I better be really excited for that tag team defense.
Where do you think this delete thing's going to happen? The gimmick. Matt's using it. When he came out to the ring, he gets on top of the top rope, the turnbuckle there, and he's doing his delete thing. Where do you think that's? Do you think that could affect the title reign a little bit? I mean, do you honestly see the Hardy Boys splitting up? I mean,
I don't see the Hardy Boys splitting up, but I feel that if he's going to do the delete gimmick or be a solo competitor, he's going to have to do it sooner rather than later. You got to strike when things are hot. And because like I said, the WWE kind of killing this gimmick. And I don't mean killing it in the sense that they're trying to kill it, just the fact that they're not doing anything with it. More time passes, people become less and less interested. That was a really hot gimmick, and people wanted to see it week in and week out. And now that they're the tag team title champion holders on Raw, and every single week it's just, Sheamus and Cesaro, maybe a tag team 6-man match, one-on-one with the tag teams. Either way, it's kind of losing its luster. We're kind of getting overexposed. It's kind of that Alien 2 sequence where the movie Alien 1 was so popular because it was such a surprise. Jaws was so popular because it was such a surprise.
Yeah.
Jaws 2, Jaws 3, Alien 2, Alien 3, the surprise is over. The surprise is over with the Hardy Boys. We see them every single week. We don't have to tune on some sort of rare television channel. We don't have to go on Matt Hardy's YouTube channel to see like that Matt Hardy still exists. Now that you're on WWE, you're going to be overexposed. You're going to be on TV all the time.
I agree.
That mystery of being an Impact is gone. A lot of people didn't watch Impact Wrestling. A lot of people don't watch Impact Wrestling. And Matt Hardy kind of had that following with not a lot of people were watching it, but they were kind of seeking it out. We don't have to seek out Matt Hardy. He's there. He's in our face every single day.
Yeah, I mean, he's there.
And he's doing, interviews all the time. So if you're going to use that gimmick, you better do it now before people just get bored and just be
Let me ask you this, though, to your point. I mean, I've read enough online, obviously the rumor mill, of course. The Vince McMahon at first was not with this delete gimmick. He was not on board whatsoever. The creative has been on board since they brought him back and since the conversation started. But I think, seeing the crowd reaction, seeing how, a lot of the fans, every time Matt comes out or speaks, you see they're all doing the delete, delete. Vince figured it out, I think. I mean, when you get that pop and you get that much reaction when you're not even using the gimmick, it's a gimmick you want to use. That's money.
Yes, and I'm just definitely a gimmick you want to use. You just hopefully using it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, if you let it sit in limbo for a while, it's going to lose its luster. You're exactly right. It's definitely going to lose its luster. Now, turning to another great match. I enjoyed the Seth Rollins Samoa Joe match. I mean, what did you think of that? I mean, the only downside was it was disqualification, but I thought the match was halfway decent. I mean, even if you put them in a standard match, this is going to be a great match because Seth Rollins and Samoa Joe are, two of the best competitors in the business right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, and they're still going to continue to be. It's like you kind of mentioned it, like they're the best in the business at the moment. But they're just the best in the business, period, as long as they are wrestling. They're good wrestlers. They know how to wrestle. They're not like Matt Hardy. They don't just happen to be hot at the moment. They're just good wrestlers, and they're just going to put on good matches. And I think WWE is kind of cashing in on the fact that they can just have them wrestle each other over and over again because they know that they're going to be good.
It's like the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn thing. You can do that match over and over. Folks are going to love it. Folks are going to tune in. They're still putting. I mean, they were doing that on house shows for a long time. Just even when the I guess the storyline, you weren't really stoking the fire so much. It wasn't really there. But you see that, if you look at the live events, you're still seeing a lot of times you're seeing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. But what I was going to say before, I didn't mean to almost cut you off there, but the Matt Hardy thing, speaking of him, maybe it's just me overanalyzing, which could be quite possible. Do you feel like he's really stiff in the ring? I feel like his movements are really stiff. I don't know if maybe
I think that's just
I don't know.
The way you're looking at him is the way that he just kind of looks.
I don't know. I just feel like he's just. I mean, obviously Jeff. He's doing his crazy. His moves
they are older, but Matt Hardy, and I know you're saying Matt Hardy when he was younger, he looked a little different than he does now. I think he's a bigger guy. He's a bigger guy, and he just has kind of a different wrestling style now, and not just in WWE, but I want to say the last few years he's had that kind of more singles competitor, heavyweightish type feel. Compared to what he was when he was
not small. I'm not saying he's,
I mean, he was pretty close to Jeff Hardy's size in like 1998, 1999. Yeah. They were pretty similar. Obviously, Jeff Hardy was a little bit slimmer.
He's a bigger
but
guy.
But now they're noticeably different.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I overanalyze it.